Ciao tutti guys, it's your boy M.K.S here, back in another video. I'm just going to check I'm live on Facebook as well. So I'm just waiting on Facebook. Once again, ciao tutti all. Ciao tutti, that means hi or hey everyone or something like that. But yeah, it's your boy M.K.S here, finally back in another video, about 3 hours later than planned, 3.5 hours even, or just over that even. And the time here in the UK is about 11:35. I was hoping to get part 2 done around 8 o'clock maybe, but time has eluded me. Not having the energy and oversleeping and things like that didn't help, but and being disorganised. But yeah, I never seem to have enough time in the day. Anyway, in part 1, I don't think I did a very good job, but hopefully people will tell me I'm wrong about that. Hopefully, pessimist wants to be proven wrong, I guess. But I suppose I was struggling to get my words out. I'd love to know how you think I did, and how you think I'm doing on this video, and how you think I do in part 3 and 4 as well. I was hoping to get part 3 and 4 of my plans for youth development in the town football done as well, in town soccer, but I guess I have to do that ASAP. I'm sure I'm not going to get that done tonight. Yeah, also when I did the intro, I don't know why I said ciao in such a way, like in part 1 for some reason. God knows what I was thinking. Maybe I was like surprised I'd uploaded that book or something. I don't know. But one thing I want to say before I get into the second part of the list, from pointers number 11 to 20 as per usual from part 2, is that actually I might say in point number 11 because the intro's gone on a bit longer than planned as usual. So point number 11, I'll say welcome to part 2 of my plans for changing and hopefully improving Italian soccer. I guess the point of change is to try and make things better. I guess I've finally cut my nails because they were really long like claws. Anyway, sorry, side note, and change my bedding. I find duvets really difficult to change. Anyway, sorry, getting back to the topic at hand. Sorry, I'll try and get to a point. I was going to say point number 1, but I forgot to say in part 1, point number 1, about whether, I don't know if everyone hates this term, but people from foreigners or people from overseas, whichever term you want to use, she doesn't like, she hates the term foreign, but whether Italy should go foreign or should you work with people from overseas. So I guess the problem with that would be loyalty, like whether you can trust that they're going to have Italian football's best interest. So like if Pep Guardiola could be tempted to become the manager, I was thinking like Arsene Wenger. I know it didn't work well for him in Arsenal at the end, it fell apart at the end, but I think he did quite a good job with them. But I think his experience of like improving the diets and things like that could be applied, so he could have a role within the FIGC. I think like former players and like the Spanish connection. But again, I wonder if they would be able to be tempted to improve the time soccer. Other nations have done that, like England, as it happens, like first went with Sven-Göran Eriksson, who's sadly no longer with us, but people talked about how bad it was to have a manager from overseas, a foreign manager, if you like, or whatever, again, whatever term you want to use, at the time. And I remember vaguely, like, someone said when I think he took over Kevin Keegan, but Kevin Keegan said he's not a big enough guy for the job or whatever, as he put it, too short for the job. I didn't know there was a height requirement, but I know he means he didn't have the ability to. He didn't really mean the height, obviously, but I don't know why he used those particular terms, but I suppose people probably say something like me. But England was struggling, but then he got Sven-Göran Eriksson. When he came in, he took England to the quarterfinals and lost against one of the best Brazilian teams, probably of all time, really. A really good Brazilian team with Ronaldinho, Ronaldo, 3 R's as they call them, as some people call them, and many other great players. So they're a really good world-class team, and it's probably one of the best teams from Brazil or any other team. But I wish Italy could produce players like Brazil, skillful players, great to watch and that kind of thing as well, and great players in different areas as well. But yeah, I don't know where they should go foreign, if you like, if they should get people like I don't know about David Silva or, I mean, the best players don't always make the best managers or coaches, they say, I think. But best managers and football coaches. But people like Fabregas and Iniesta, Xavi, and people like that, if they could be tempted and paid enough to manage it to Italy, if Italy could fundraise that money, maybe even Italian businesses help to bring them in and pay them to come to Italy. We'll say buy them, but that doesn't quite sound right. But pay them to come to Italy. But whether you'd have that loyalty, I don't know. But again, other nations have done it and they've made it work. Apparently, even other sports, like an England fan from AFTV or Arsenal Fan TV, Robbie Lyle, the founder of that channel, I believe, said that the England rugby team, cricket team, and teams like that have had foreign managers and they start winning things where they never won before. So maybe it does need that reset to bring in people with new ideas and that kind of thing. But I would also love for former Italian players themselves to be involved in management. And the other thing is, I realise I've gone through this point in quite a lot of detail, but I'd love to see Italian football changing, like becoming more, talking about change, to become more attacking as well, attack-minded. But I think I'm going to move on finally to point number 12. Well, not finally, but finally going to move on to point number 12. Not the end of my list, but number 12, I guess keeping the structure of like having good goalkeepers and good defenders and that kind of thing, and some of the things Italian soccer has done well, I think would be good. But I would love to see Italy produce great players in all positions to try and limit as many weaknesses as possible. Obviously, players make mistakes, but I'd love for Italy to have an excellent balance, in fact, like a brilliant balance, going on alliteration, brilliant to excellent balance or whatever. So having a great goalkeepers, even in the plural, great centre backs, wing backs, wingers, centre mids, and strikers. So having really good players all over the pitch and on the right and the left. I think that would be pretty cool. So sticking to the things that Italian soccer has done well and having that good defence and that kind of thing, maybe. But at the same time, changing some of the things, becoming more attacking and that kind of thing. I do fear whether Italian soccer will ever make those changes. I'm talking about fears number 13. I do fear whether Italian soccer will make those changes, I say. And also whether Italian soccer can improve. It's really embarrassing to fail to qualify for 3 World Cups in a row. It's the opposite to what I wanted to happen in many ways, because I wanted Italy to win 3 World Cups in a row. At one point, I wanted Italy to win as Italy won the 2006 World Cup, I wanted Italy to win the 2010 and 2014 World Cup to become the first nation to win 3 World Cups in a row. And I thought it'd be quite cool. Well, it would be a bit harsh, but I thought it'd be quite cool if we overtook Brazil in their own backyard by winning more than that. Obviously, sadly, it wasn't to be. I hope that Italy can improve. Of course, it'd be cool if we did win like 2030, 2034 and 2038. Maybe Italy could set those goals and people can be proud to work towards those goals. Also, I support Italian soccer from a biased point of view. I normally mention because I think I look Italian and I support them since I was young, so I'm stuck by them for nostalgic purposes. But I'd love to see teams like AC Milan getting back to the position they were in, as well as the national team and all the other Italian teams, Milan, Roma, even their rivals, Inter and others as well. I think we could see Italian soccer improving generally from a selfish point of view. Number 14, I hope, again, they can look at any weaknesses they have and say, like, let's say, for instance, if Italian soccer struggles with having a left back, encourage people to become a left back, or whatever areas where they're weak at, they would try and encourage more people to try and practice to improve and practice the skills to get good in those areas. So again, I'd love for Italy to have 11 to 22 or whatever excellent world-class players, or even more than that, like even on the bench and that kind of thing. So even if players are injured or whatever, there's so many there that can play. I'd love to do fundraising and things like that to help to fund that kind of infrastructure, those parks and playing fields and opportunities for Italians to play as much as possible. I even think like it'd be cool if many more Italians, or even if there was money available from Italian businesses, those from the diaspora and wherever can be funded, if they would pay people to even play. So not only would it be free to play, I've often thought in the past like it'd be free or at least a reduced price to pay, because sometimes you have to pay for playing facilities for football pitches and whatnot to play on. But if not only would they have it for cheaper or even free, but they would even get paid to play football, to play soccer. And having talking about the diaspora, having practice matches, as I talked about before as well, in America and all over the Americas and around the world as much as possible, across Africa, Asia, and all over the world. Wherever the positions are weaker, they could practice to so many times. So if they could produce as many great players as possible and solve problems with soccer. I know I talked about working with FIFA and UEFA. Looking at wherever there's weaknesses and how to make themselves as good as possible, solve problems and that kind of thing which they face. Also use soccer to fundraise for solving problems. I'm just trying to remember if there's anything else I was going to say before I move on to number 15. I'm going to move on to number 15. Love for neurodivergent people and people with mental health problems, such as myself, to have a purpose. And I'd love to encourage as many of my fellow mad or mental health people and people with neurodivergent conditions. It might be a hard sell. It's going to be a hard sell, I'm sure, for people from England or America, Germany, Spain even, or wherever else in the world that might be. Let's say someone who's patriotic to England to try and convince them to be an Italian soccer supporter. But I think it'd be cool to have a purpose, and like, if you've got mental health problems, it's good to have a purpose and something that you can do. Like for me, if I don't go for walks, I'm sure I'd struggle even more with my health. I'd be struggling even more with my health, my mental health. So being involved in soccer and being involved in sharing ideas can give us a purpose and pride. Also, Italians having that purpose and pride in soccer and bringing back the soccer. So the pride to Italian soccer, making Italian soccer great again. But someone actually mentioned it would be hard time now to sell Italian soccer, but maybe it's something that people could say, it's a challenge. Let's see if we can help Italian soccer get back to the top. So neurodivergent people with autism, ADHD, dyslexia, and related conditions, and also people with mental health problems. It could be something to work towards to give you a purpose. I'd also love talking about purpose as well and like working together. I know I talked about youth development and improving that. I talked about like schools having essays and assignments where you have to write ways to improve Italian soccer, and you can get awards on that and that kind of thing, and bringing back the passion and pride Italians to do that within Italy and those from the diaspora and Italian businesses, council, politicians and whatnot, but also Italian soccer, including the national team, the FIGC, the Italian FA, and teams like Juventus and other Italian teams, especially Juventus. I say especially Juventus because that means youth in English, which I mentioned before, but previously. But for them to work with parks, schools, teachers, parents, youth centres, juvenile detention centres, or whatever they might be called in Italy, and places like that, to work with young people, so you keep young people having a purpose, to keep young people playing soccer and staying out of trouble and things like that. It's something Italians could work together to be united behind the team, as I talked about before, especially on the 17th of March each year, which is Italy's Unification Day, and I think the 2nd of June is Italy's National Day. I know I only support Italy in soccer, but those are a couple of days and maybe others throughout the year where, maybe even daily, in fact, Italians could come together, although obviously there's some rivalry, but I also thought of different competitions I'd love to make. I suppose I did mention them, I think, about yesterday or last night or whatever, but like where you get a point for each goal you score, and then you play like different teams and you add your goals that you score together. That could encourage more attacking soccer from a young age, and then that develops into players as they get older. Number 16, I'd love for there to be think tanks and committees which talk about ways to bring in investment. I think I meant to say, and this is a point I was forgetting to say, I love for, I'll say, neurodivergent people with mental health problems, and even my fellow Anglo-Indians and other Eurasians, to, as well as Italians themselves and people from the diaspora, including those with neurodiverse conditions and mental health problems within those groups, and even people from outside of Italy who I could convince it could give them a purpose in life. And I'd love to travel with people with mental health problems, as long as it's safe to do so as much as possible. Those who are not too dangerous, I guess. Like me, I'm harmless. As my dad said, mad as a box of frogs. In other words, mad but harmless. I won't get too much into that story, but not now anyway. But yeah, you can probably tell I'm mad. But working with people with mental health problems, and I feel like I'm saying mad because I'm one of them. Yeah, one of us, and that kind of thing. But yeah, I'd love to travel to Italy and share my own strategies, and also people with mental health problems and neurodivergent conditions. So let's say a neurodivergent entrepreneur, or even an entrepreneur with mental health problems, or someone just who has ideas. Like me, I have a lot of ideas, but I do struggle to put them into practice. But trying to openly share those ideas, could talk about all possible ways to attract investment and sponsorship into Italian soccer, as long as it's done legally with international law and within the rules of FIFA and UEFA, and even maybe Italian soccer as well as Celtic working with FIFA and UEFA to look at any rule changes they can make, again, as long as it's done within the rules. Maybe saying like, because Italian soccer and Celtic, I know I mentioned this before, including in part one, but because Italian soccer and Celtic does football for good, they could be given more access to funding and sponsorship and that kind of thing. And FIFA could change the rules sometimes to help favour Italian soccer and Celtic, maybe with more investment, and encourage investors to invest. Because like, if my campaign idea to say, instead of investing in wars and the weapons trade and that kind of thing, instead of funding that and fundraising for that, more money to go towards Italian soccer and Celtic, the more money which is in soccer generally, that would mean there'd be more money in soccer generally, it would benefit FIFA and UEFA hopefully as well. So they might see a benefit in that, and therefore say, yeah, we'll allow you to have that funding because it's going towards promoting soccer, getting more people to play soccer. Maybe FIFA and UEFA could even fund more pitches in Italy as well. But as I say, I'd love for there to be a committee, a think tank or whatnot, former players and even current players perhaps, politicians, councillors, businesses, and Italian society, and those from the diaspora, and maybe even people with mental health problems and neurodivergent conditions, and Anglo-Indians and Eurasians working together to share ideas on how to improve Italian soccer supporters generally, maybe having a way where they can share ideas. Maybe the FIGC, the Italian FA, and Serie A, and all those involved in Italian soccer could be more receptive to reading and listening to ideas. Obviously, if you send a lot of ideas, like Roberto Baggio apparently had a 900-page sort of dossier, I can understand why they wouldn't want to read that much, but maybe people have to be more concise and get to a point and make it a bit sort of summarised. And talking of which, I'm going to move on to point number 17 finally. So let's say it's not the end of this, sorry, but I know I do struggle to get to the point. But number 17, I'd love to, and it'd be hard to imagine, but I'd love to see. I was wondering whether to include this in part one, but I mentioned about people with mental health problems, neurodivergent people, Anglo-Indians, and other Eurasians and whatnot going, and those from the diaspora as well, including neurodivergent people and mixed race people, I guess, part Italian, and also people with mental health problems from the diaspora. Sorry. I'd love for us to have different groups that play against each other. Like an Anglo-Indian team could play against an Indo team, which is part Indonesian and part Dutch or whatever. So Eurasian teams from different backgrounds, like Indos, Anglo-Indians, Kristangs, Hapas, Hafus, and whatnot, could play against each other, but also against Italian teams, and try and improve like the skills and practice more, which hopefully will help Italian teams to improve with more stamina and things like that. But we could try and see what skills we could come up with. But I'd love to see Italy produce the next Messi, Ronaldo, Ronaldinho, the two Ronnies, as I say, R9 and Cristiano Ronaldo, Portuguese, Brazilian versions. And yeah, basically the next Pele, the next Maradona, Messi, as I say, the next best players in the world basically to come from Italy, but also in different positions. I say like the best goalkeepers, defenders, midfielders, and strikers ideally. But I'm also thinking of more skillful players like Zizou, Zidane, and players like Ronaldinho. I think my two favourite players probably would be Zidane and Ronaldinho, and I'd love to see Italy produce those type of players. Um, with what happened with Zidane, I imagine he wouldn't be too keen on helping the national team. Apparently, he jinxed us. That's why we don't win anymore. But I don't know if he does magic. But anyway, I know he played like he does magic. But to be fair, but from what I saw of them and what skills I've seen, I think Zidane and Ronaldinho are probably my two favourite players. But I'm not going to go into too much details on like how we used to think skills are not that great, but they do make football, soccer, or whatever you call it, more entertaining, which is what got me into soccer in the first place. Number 18, one thing I was thinking about as well is, I say Italian soccer and Celtic working for the great good, practicing together, things like that. But I was thinking about something I've completely forgotten again, but hopefully I'll include in part 3 and trick off 4, all being well. Number 19, I'd love to see, I say what Italian soccer being as good as possible and always continuously seeking to improve. And number 20, having a balance between youth and older players. And it's really frustrating. I forgot one thing I was going to say. I do struggle to get to the point, so please forgive me. But on that note, I'm out, and peace and love.